In the Mayan crystal skull ceremony that was held every 1,000 years, the chosen person and the grandmother would then ingest a very special concoction made of natural herbs, psychedelic plants, and mushrooms. It was made very strong. And the reason was because that this person that was selected and the grandmother would eat this concoction during the ceremony, and this would lead them into a very special experience within their hearts that would soon separate them from their bodies, but not from the earth. In other words, they would die, but they wouldn't go on into the other levels. And with the whole tribe surrounding them in prayer and encouragement, their spirits would leave their bodies and enter into the physical crystal skull. And both of them, the specially selected person and the grandmother, would then take this crystal skull to be their physical body for the next thousands of years until the time that we are now in now, the end of time. Sometime during the end of time, the Maya will perform this final Mayan crystal skull ceremony. I actually just got an email from Huns Batsman 4 days before I arrived here, and I now know that that it has not taken place yet, but they will be doing this very soon. This is an amazing ceremony. 13 Mayan shamans, which could be men or women, will receive the spirits of these ancient Mayan souls into their modern-day Mayan bodies, and then remember everything that these spirits remembered, the ancient ones. It's even better than a computer, for it remembers the emotional aspects as well. When this ceremony takes place, the Maya that are living today remember all of the past to the time of Atlantis and even before. And then the Maya will then combine this knowledge and memories with the intellectual process of the 25 Mayan elders that are rewriting Mayan history, and the Mayan nation will then become whole again. They will remember everything, both from their brains and from their hearts. That's their plan, and I think that they will achieve this. And as for us, the rest of the world, a great blessing will occur, for now the Mayan nation is intact, both with the ancient and modern knowledge, and experience, and wisdom and memories at the same time. It's all part of the Mayan prophecy. And you are alive to know the truth of this prophecy. At one point, Don Alejandro simply raised his arms and said, "Okay, now we're going to go to the heart of the Maya land." Whatever that meant. I didn't know. We began to travel, but to where, I didn't have any idea. We had this big modern silver bus, and it was sliding down the freeways and highways and moving through beautiful jungles of Guatemala. We didn't know where it was going. We drove for hours and hours to this unknown location, and then I just fell asleep. I remembered the rhythm of the wheels slapping on the pavement. That was it. I just began to dream. The next thing I know, suddenly, without any notice, Don Alejandro orders the bus off to the side of the road. I wake up and I look outside, and it was anywhere. It could have been anywhere at all. It was just, it was a landscape that could have been really anywhere in Guatemala. Fields of grass on both sides, fenced in by old rusty barbed-wired fences. Totally everyday, nothing exciting, no temples, no nothing. We all got out of the bus, kind of meandering around like a bunch of ants, not knowing what to do or where to go. And then finally Don Alejandro and the elders walked over to the other side of the road where there was a break in the fencing. It was just, it was like a corridor. There were fences that came in and went this way, and there was a little space in the middle. If you were to drove by it, you wouldn't even have seen it. And we followed the Maya into this narrow, grassy pathway, having no idea what was, inside of here. We walked for a long ways, about a mile or so, and it became more rocky. And it was clear that we were approaching some kind of low mountains. And the trees began to surround us and became dense. Then the elders sharply turned to the left, and entered into another fence field that quickly began to emerge as, I mean, really true jungle, and a jungle that obviously somebody had been taking care of. It was just too beautiful. Brightly colored birds flew back and forth. Stepping stones appeared just when you needed them. Everything became moist and green and manicured. It was more hotel-like than something that nature would come up with. But here it was, in the middle of nowhere. Then, surprisingly enough, but not really surprising, there was a beautiful wooden building blocking the entire valley floor that we were moving through. It was a structure built by the Mayans long ago to protect something that we were about to be allowed to enter into. The caves where the Mayan emerged out into this world long before Atlantis. To the Native Americans, it is called the Sipapu, and the Holy of Holies to them. I felt myself become very quiet inside. People were talking and realizing that food was about to be given to us, but the intrigue of what lay on the other side of this open-air restaurant was almost unbearable. The elders sat us down in this beautiful structure with the tropical jungle that was just coming in from all sides, and they gave us a traditional Mayan meal. We had a long journey ahead of us, but we didn't know that. But the elders did. They were just taking care of us. After our lunch, in single file, we began to move into the region behind this building. It slowly sloped upwards as we approached the mountain that was now in front of us. I became even more still inside, and I began to chant within myself as I walked closer and closer to something that I just really didn't understand. And then it happened. A small hole in the side of the mountain appeared, not much bigger than for maybe 2, maybe 3 people at the most to enter in at the same time. It took a while, but eventually all of us were inside the mountain in a long, narrow tunnel. We were now completely inside of Mother Earth. Somewhere in this tunnel, Don Alejandro corralled us all together and talked to us to explain a little bit about this cave. This was a very sacred cave for the Mayan nation. He told us that the cave continued for 28 kilometers, but that we were only going to go in for a few kilometers, and for us to be very careful as it would be getting wet and slippery inside. And this was obvious because it was already getting wet. We continued for just a little bit further, and there before us lay something that I didn't expect at all. The narrow tunnel came to an end in a T, and in front of us was another opening that was huge. I mean, it was twice as big as a football field and perhaps 75, maybe 90 feet high. And a piece of the ceiling had fallen in a long time ago, and a beam of light came shooting into the darkness and flooded this enormous cave with this angelic light that made you stop and open your heart. You couldn't help it. It was just instinctive. And then we all climbed down from this narrow cave, down an old ladder to the floor of this new cave, and turned to the left. We really kind of had no choice, and continued as a small creek weaved itself from one side of the cave to the other. We were constantly having to walk through this pure, crisp, pristine water. Most of the time, as we left this shaft of light, we had to use our flashlights to keep from falling into some hidden rocks or cliffs or somewhere. And it was very dark, and most of us just kept talking simply because we wanted to make sure somebody was there. If you turned off your light, it was completely black. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. After a very long and somewhat dangerous journey into Mother Earth, we again came across another place where the ceiling had fallen out of the ceiling, out of the earth, and it exposed another beam of sunlight to the interior of the cave. It wasn't much, but it was nevertheless, it made it possible for us that we could see. Don Alejandro stopped us, and he said that another ceremony had to be performed here in this place. It was another fire ceremony, but it was completely different than the first two that we had done at Lake Tatalan and Tikal. The fire was in circles. It was the most beautiful of all, as the music and chanting, it just echoed off the walls and within our spirits.